Hi there, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be diving into the brand new feature in Microsoft Fabric, which is shortcut transformations. It's currently in preview. Think about it. If you've ever built pipelines to convert files into Delta tables or applied transformation to text, this might really simplify your life. In this video, I'm going to cover what shortcuts in Microsoft Fabric generally implies, and I'm going to focus on shortcut transformations, and I'm going to talk about some few limitations, and we see the demonstration. In Microsoft Fabric, shortcuts are virtual references like symbolic links that point to data stored elsewhere, such as within one lake, external storage like AWS Gen 2, Azure Blob, S3, or Google Cloud Storage. They allow you to reference data without needing to copy or move data physically, which reduces duplication, latency, and overhead. Shortcuts appears in your lakehouse either under the files or the table, and they behave like windows into external data. Let's talk about shortcut transformations. They basically allow you to automatically transform files into Delta tables as you bring them into one lake or move them within one lake. Crucially, you don't need any pipeline. The transformation happens on the fly and the output stays in sync with the source. For example, if your source is Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2, this automatically synchronizes such that when new files are dropped into your container, they're automatically captured after 2 minutes of waiting. So let's see how this works in practice. All right, so to get started, I'm going to quickly provision a lake house. So I'm going to come to my workspaces and I'm going to go to this cornerstone workspace and I'm going to open this lake houses folder and I'm going to create a new item and I'm going to search for lake house. Let's just call this one demo and I'm okay with this. Click on create. So this is going to be created without any content. Now I'm going to get my data prepared. So I'm going to go to my Cornerstone 100 storage account and I can see this is an hierarchical namespace enabled. So this simply means I've got an ADLS Gen 2, not an Azure Blob storage account. So I'm going to come to the containers under the data storage and I've got this sales container created. So let's just open it up and I'm going to use the upload functionality to just bring one of the sales data into this container. Click on upload and I can see the data. So let's just see the preview and I want to click on edit and I can click on the preview and then we can see all of this. Now you observe that I've got this order date which contains the / as the date separator. Now this is going to be a problem for the shortcut transformation to handle, but let's see how this pans out as we go. So once the data is loaded into my sales container, I'm going to head back to Microsoft Fabric and I'm going to click on this table, right click and then click on the new shortcuts. I've created videos on how we can create shortcuts to external sources like Amazon S3, even to Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2, Azure Blob, and the Google Cloud Storage. So let's just focus on the ADLS Gen 2. I'm going to click on that. So this is going to ask you to create a connection if you don't have them. You can also use an existing connection. So I'm going to just create a new connection and I'm going to supply the URL. So to get to the URL, I'm going to come back to the portal and I'm going to search for the endpoint. And I can see that at the bottom under the settings, click on that. And I'm going to scroll down to the bottom. So I want to look for the data lake primary endpoint. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to go back to the Microsoft Fabric and I'm going to paste in it. And then I'm going to maintain this connection and I'm going to use the account key for the authentication kind. So to get the account key, I'm going to come back in here and I'm going to set for the access keys under the set security plus networking. Click on that. I want to show it and copy to the clipboard and I'm going to Control V to paste. And once that's sorted, I'm going to click on next. So this is going to fully authenticate and then I'm able to see the sales container just like what I've got in the Cornerstone 100 container in it. Cool. So I'm going to double click and I can see the content of the transaction 2019.csv that I dropped into the container and I'm going to click on this to select and I'm going to click on next. In the transform window, we can say auto transform applied. Transform from CSV to Delta table. So data was auto transformed since it was in the wrong format. You can revert changes if you don't want to apply the transform. So we have the data detected as a comma delimiter, and of course our first row contain our header. So we're going to maintain this used first row as headers, and I'm going to click on next, and then we can see the transform from the target file CSV to Delta. And of course, we can modify the shortcut name and we can do some other things such as deleting. So let's just click on this, for example, to change this to sales underscore TBL. Now, this is not necessary. I just want to show you. So once you're happy, click on this to lock that in. And I'm going to click on create. So as soon as I click on create, I can see status in progress, and I'm going to wait for some couple of moments. Amazing. In matter of seconds, we have the sales underscore TBL as a delta table, and this is coming from our shortcut. Absolutely cool. Now I'm going to click on this and I'm going to see the content of the tables. I'm going to actually check whether this is able to correctly apply the accurate data types. So in the case this is actually not working, I'm going to quickly switch to the SQL analytics endpoint, and I'm going to expand the default DB, and then we can see the sales underscore TBL. I'm going to give that a click, and let's see the preview of the table. Amazing. So this is the data set. So we can see we've got all our columns, the order ID, order date, and so on and so forth. Now you observe that we have this order date not properly interpreted, and the reason is because we've got this date format. So in order for you to have this automatically transform from string to proper date data type, you must ensure that the date format is in the year, month, and the day. So I'm going to show you how we can handle that. But if, for example, you've got lots of data or CSV in this format, this is going to be a problem you need to deal with if you're using the shortcut transformation. But not too bad, we can go ahead. So we can see we've got all our integer data types properly transformed, such as the year, the month, and of course we've got the double data types properly transformed. And then we've got this file path. So this is actually telling us where this is actually reading from. So we can see we've got the transaction 2019.csv. Really cool. So this appear as though this data is ready for analytics. Now let's see what happens if we drop the transaction for the 2020 into the same location. And I'm going to come here and I'm going to open up the same sales container, and let's quickly upload the 2020. So I'm going to hit the upload, and there we go. So I'm going to come back in here, and based on the documentation, we can just wait for about 2 minutes and we should see the data included. I'm going to quickly switch back to the lake house, and I'm going to click on this to refresh. There we go. So we can see the transaction for the 2020 included, which is really cool. So I'm going to quickly turn this to the SQL Analytic endpoint, and again, we can check it out from here. I'm just going to give this a refresh. There we go. So we can see the transaction for 2020 is now included, which is awesome. Now let's talk about some few limitations and consideration to watch out for. Currently, the shortcut transformation only supports CSV to Delta. So if your data source is like Parquet, Avro, or other file formats, this is not going to work because this only supports CSV. Another limitation is that the files must share an identical schema. For example, we do not have schema drift supported for now. So for example, if you add a new column to one of the files you're dropping into your container, this is going to automatically be discarded without being added because the schema drift is not supported. And another limitation is that the transform are read optimized. So this simply means that merge into or delete on the transform data table may be blocked or they are absolutely limited. So these are some few limitations and consideration we need to pay attention to. So once that's sorted, I'm going to quickly switch back to the lake house. I'm going to come to the sales underscore TBL and right click. So we have other functionalities such as manage shortcuts. So when I click on that, this automatically opens this manage shortcut window, and this shows the property which include the name, target type, target location, shortcut location, transform, and so on and so forth. And very importantly, we've got this monitoring. So this actually allows us to monitor the job and the status, whether this succeeded or failed. We can see the time, the duration, and some other details. So for example, if I drop another file into the location, I'm going to be able to see that in it. So let's quickly do that. I'm going to quickly come back in here and let me bring in the 2021 data. So I'm going to double click and then I'm going to click on that. So we have the transaction 2021 in it. So when I come to the fabric, I can click on this refresh. All right, so we can see the in progress. So I'm just going to wait again for the 2 minutes in order for this to either be a succeeded or a failed integration. So let me just click on the refresh again, And just like I mentioned, the monitor allows us to monitor what's going on, and then we can easily intervene if there's a need to do that. And there we go. So you can see this succeeded. Beautiful. So I can check them out. So we've got all the four, and I'm going to close this for now. And let me just click on this to refresh, and we should be able to see the 2021 transactions now added. All right, so amazing. There we go. So they succeeded. So again, I mentioned that this is actually causing some little problem around this date format. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly come back to my container, and let me just step out and let me just create a new container just to show you that you need to have a specific date format, that is the year, month, and day, in order for this to be able to be interpreted accurately. So let's just call this one demo, and I'm going to click on create the container, and let me just load different version of the sales 2019 into the new container. So I'm going to double click on this, and I'm going to click on upload. So in this case, we can see we've got the year, the month, and the date. So I'm going to quickly run that by coming back to my workspace or the lake house. So all right, so let me just open the lake house and create another shortcut. So new shortcut, and I'm going to speed this up, and I'm going to use the same connection we used. Click on the next, and I'm going to select this time around, click on the next, and we're happy with all of this. Click on next and create demo. All right, so this is going, and in a matter of seconds we should have the demo. So as soon as the demo is fully deployed as a delta table, we're going to be able to see that the date is going to be interpreted accurately. All right, this is done. I'm going to click on this demo, and let's see the order dates. So while that's going on, let me quickly switch to the SQL Analytics endpoint. All right, so we can see, so this gave us the accurate order dates being interpreted. So you want to make sure that your date format is in the year, month, and the day in order for the date transformation to work as expected. So this is a quick guide on the Microsoft Fabric shortcut. I trust you enjoyed this video. If you do, please like, share, comment, and follow me for more videos. Thank you for watching. Bye for now. Cheers.